Even if we are given provocations, we may need to moderate our reactions so that the mass of Bangladesh, who I strongly believe have not made up their mind and are surely not decided to go with the Jamaat as the Indian media makes it out to be, would be persuaded to be more central in their voting.
So you believe that the anti-Bangladeshi sentiment needs to be moderated?
Moderated and understood in the context of someone and some group directly and maliciously provoking India, even to the extent of murdering and lynching, so that we react immediately, as we did in, let us say, that cricket case, Mustafa's case.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Today we turn our attention to the situation in Bangladesh and India's reaction and response to it. Is the anti-Bangladeshi fury sweeping through our country justified? Is there a history behind Hindu-Muslim relations in Bangladesh that we are perhaps not fully aware of? And what sort of relationship can we expect after Bangladesh's elections are held next month? Those are the key issues I should raise today with my guest, who is the former CEO of Prasar Bharati and the former Trinamool Congress Rajya Sabha MP, Jawhar Sircar. Mr. Sircar, in an article you recently wrote for the National Herald, you seem to suggest that the anti-Bangladeshi fury presently sweeping through India is not justified. Am I right in that impression?
No, it's not that not justified. All I'm trying to say is that we could moderate it a bit. There's a reason why I'm saying so. It's a very natural reaction to incidents reported in India, but Bangladesh is facing elections in the next few weeks. Most of the people of Bangladesh haven't decided. Yunus and some of the rabid Jamaati Islami statements are provoking India to go in for certain actions and statements that would heighten anti-India feelings there. So my submission is very clear that even if we are given provocations, we may need to moderate our reactions so that the mass of Bangladesh, who I strongly believe have not made up their mind and are surely not decided to go with the Jamaat as the Indian media makes it out to be, would be persuaded to be more central in their voting.
So you believe that the anti-Bangladeshi sentiment needs to be moderated?
Moderated and understood in the context of someone and some group directly and maliciously provoking India, even to the extent of murdering and lynching, so that we react immediately, as we did in, let us say, that cricket case, Mustafa's case.
Now, the truth is, Mr. Sircar, that whilst it was perhaps the case that immediately after the fall of Sheikh Hasina, the Hindus who were being targeted were not targeted because of their religion, they were targeted because they were believed to be Awami League supporters. Now, Hindus are being targeted as Hindus. Isn't that a critical change that's happened in recent months? In fact, the Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council reports that there were 51 communal incidents in December alone, including allegedly 10 murders. So what was earlier secular has now become anti-Hindu.
You're perfectly correct. In the first stage, the angst was against all Awami League people and a little bit of hidden anti-Hindu sentiments in some areas. Some areas. They couldn't be directly attributed. Right now, and I've written in the past also for the last 4 or 5 months, pleading with my fellow citizens to take a little moderate view and to understand the game plan. And this is precisely as per game plan. Some masked hoodlums come and shoot a prominent leader, somebody whose sentiments has rocked Bangladesh. Rob, I mean. So it is a part of a master plan. You see, Yunus and company did not want elections. Elections were forced upon them by the major opposition party, the BNP, the Jatiyo Dal, and even Zakar. General Zakar made it clear that he has to have elections. So, as the elections are being thrust on them, the colors are coming out. Number one, go in for selective outrage so that there is double outrage from India and the Hindus. Use that to unite anti Hindu, anti Indian forces. That's precisely part of the gun. Otherwise, why on earth do you think that a person who is a rival to Muhammad Yunus in popularity, a rival and in fact more popular than Muhammad Yunus, more anti-India than him, should be shot under mysterious circumstances because he doesn't have the backing of a full organized party. What a soft target.
So what
Somebody
you're
consider.
suggesting is that the
Hmm,
anti-Bangladeshi
hmm.
sentiment in India is playing into the hands of extremists and fundamentalists in Bangladesh, who are playing their game for them.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. That we should not react instantly because if we do so, as we did in the cricket issue, we are uniting people behind the radicals, behind the extremists. We
You
should.
also make a further point. You say in your article for the National Herald that the anti-Bangladeshi sentiment in India has been created and is being fueled by the Indian media. You call it a tutored media.
Well, about tutoring, I'm very clear because everybody knows it's not a secret anymore. The name has come out, Hiren Joshi, the gentleman I came to know first the moment Mr. Modi joined. Now, there are these Hiren Joshis who ring up, I can name you some, Pratyek, I can give you names, you'd know better, who ring up the media almost on a daily basis, giving them broad hints over cups of chai, what is to be done. And the media has taken it up. Though some lady said that we can't work for the opposition and all that, I would say that don't work for the proposition or the government as well.
But you're
Please.
suggesting quite clearly that
Mm,
people like Hiren Joshi have been
mm,
ringing up the media and
mm.
fueling anti-Bangladeshi sentiment.
That is what my friends in the media have been saying. It's not only anti-Bangladesh sentiment, it's a whole range of issues on which the government would like them to be more national.
But
That's
today
what I
we're
mean.
talking about the anti-Bangladeshi sentiment, and that is being fueled at the behest of people like Hiren Joshi, who's acting on behalf of the government.
Uh, they are being fueled by pro-government elements. And that is very clear that this is a tutored media, a bit like a part of the American media that's tutored to justify aggression.
All right,
So,
at this point, Mr. Sarkar, let's
mm,
go and try and understand Hindu
mm,
Muslim relations in Bangladesh and how they've evolved historically, because that is an
mm,
important part of your article and it's an important part of understanding the relationship between the two countries. In your National Herald article, you write, and I'm quoting, many Bangladeshi Muslims harbor a legitimate historical grievance against the Bengali Hindu Bhadralok who, during the 2 centuries of British rule, benefited disproportionately from the exploitative zamindari system and monopolized government jobs. Can you explain this point more fully to an audience that may not be aware of this history?
okay, it's like this. Bengal was the first province, if I may use the term, to come under Islamic rule or the rule of the sultans immediately after Delhi. Delhi was to 1202 and this was 1204. Since then, there has been a light, if I may use the term, a very light Islamic state, that fused the Bengali identity together during its formative years. The Bengali identity with under one language, one culture, one sort of diet, similar feelings, similar emotions, similar extra emotion, if I may put it also. So all of this was was put together between the 14th and the 17th century when the Mughals came in. They only consolidated the identity. Why I call it the identity is that there is, sitting in Delhi, sitting in Hyderabad, you would feel a distinct Bengaliness about reacting, about culture, emotion, Rabindranath Tagore, Nazrul Islam, football. There is something common. Okay. Having said that, the Battle of Plassey, immediately after the Battle of Plassey, if you go through the list of people who benefited, if you go into the class that benefited from British rule, it was squarely and undisputably Hindu upper caste, otherwise known as Bhadralok. In many articles, some of which I've written, we pointed out to one figure that will explain what domination by Bengali upper caste 6%, my calculation was 6% of the population is. In 1900, the British report on higher administrative posts revealed that 6% of the upper caste Hindu Bhadraloks monopolized 82% of all the jobs. 55% of the Muslims of Bengal, they were 55 at that time, had 10%. The rest of the Bengalis of middle caste and other castes, forget it.
So, prior to independence, the system was such that 6% Hindu Bhadralok dominated over and effectively, if I can use that word, ruled over 55% of the population that was Muslim. That was why there was what you call a legitimate historical grievance.
Not only that, not only is that a fact, not only were they dominating over the Muslims who were at a backward advantage, a disadvantage, they were doing it over other castes as well. But we don't get into caste history because over a period of time, caste is not a major factor.
But the main point is that Muslims felt they were dominated by Hindus.
They not felt, they had evidence, they still throw up evidence on a daily basis of how they were dominated. So a section of the Muslims, not all, did not take it as history. A section of the Muslims felt that they had been exploited, that they had genuine reasons. Number two, whenever there were opportunities for the Muslims to pick up education and others, it was the same gentry in Calcutta that blocked it. When Islamia College was set up by Fazlul Haq, the Bengali upper caste almost opposed it. When Dhaka University was being separated from Calcutta University, there was an uproar in Calcutta saying Dhaka does not deserve an university. So I'm just giving you examples of how they felt that they were being put down.
So this has created what you call a legitimate historical grievance that rankles between Bangladeshi Hindus and Bangladeshi Muslims.
Between Hindus in both Bengals and Hindus, Muslims in both Bengals, mainly in Bangladesh.
Now, after the creation of Bangladesh, you also mention a second point. You say many Indians grumble that Bangladeshis are not eternally grateful to India for their independence. How justified or how unjustified is this feeling?
You know it as part of the national media that there is a feeling that ye log hamare saath beimani kya, or are they're being ungrateful lot. We got them independence. That's the narrative. Well, facts are a little different. We did spend a lot of money. We did lose a lot of people. We did a lot for Bangladesh. But you forget the role of the Mukti Bahini. You forget the role of 600,000 people who died. You forget the role that Bangladesh, suffering that Bangladesh went through. Now, this feeling is was an angst. Did you see any Mukti Bahini generals at the surrender on the 16th of December?
General Niazi's surrender.
General Niazi's surrender? No. We were supposed to be allies of the Mukti Bahini. Where were the Mukti Bahini? These points remain and rankle the Bangladeshis. That are we second-class people? Number two, about gratitude. The question is, how much gratitude is Vietnam showing to China? China practically helped it fight off the Americans, and China is today Vietnam's top enemy. In international relations, you don't have permanent love affairs.
Now,
So
the
you,
interesting point is you
Hmm,
also point out that
hmm, hmm,
India itself has made mistakes since
hmm,
1972. First, you say it foisted an absentee Mujibur Rahman on Dhaka, antagonizing the likes of Zia ur Rahman, who had actually fought Pakistan on the ground. But let me ask you this. Wasn't Mujib the icon of Bangladesh's independence struggle? And wasn't he the inevitable choice to head the country after independence?
It's a little complicated. It's a little complicated. It's not that simple. Mujib is remembered as a resounding voice of Bengali nationalism in East Bengal. Number one. Mujib is the one who could rally people together, and Mujib is the one who gave them inspiration on the 8th of March, on the 7th of March. It's he who was the rallying point. But when the chips were down on the 25th of March, Mujib was not there. He was whisked away to Pakistan. So he was not part of the freedom struggle. People who had their allegiance to Mujib fought. Now the question is, who were the ones who actually who actually lost lives by lakhs? Who actually fought on the ground? General Osmani. How was General Osmani treated after independence? By an establishment that was allied to India. And when I say India, let's not jump to Modi. It was Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi decided that Mujib was the best bet. Mujib was the best symbol. Now, what happens thereafter is that others who participated when Mujib was in jail or in house arrest in Pakistan, those who fought on the ground, those who lost their boys, General Zia is one of them. General Zia is one of them. Then Khalid Musharraf. Khalid Musharraf is one of them. MAG Osmani. There are lots of them. They
And
were
they were
all
sidelined.
they were all sidelined, and that's part of history.
And that
And
is
many.
something else that has rankled.
So we could have been a little more balanced in the sense that saying giving proper hints. We could have been more balanced because what follows thereafter is a tale that has hardly been told in India.
Well, that's the tale I want to go into because I think it's germane to the manner in which the relationship between India and Bangladesh has developed. The second mistake you point out in your National Herald article was what you call India's indulgence of Mujib's authoritarian, allegedly corrupt rule, even as floods and a man made famine ravaged Bangladesh in 1974-75. Now, this is another aspect of the Bangladesh history that most Indians are not aware of. Can you explain it more fully?
Yes. Mujib, when he took over in 72, Bangladesh was in raptures. All of us in Calcutta who were students and student leaders at that time, we were all in raptures. And it was a delirious feeling that something like this has happened. We had posters of Mujib from our school college days in our rooms. Having said that, we observed to our horror that a lot of corrupt businessmen from Calcutta and Delhi and other places were landing in Dhaka, and very soon a crony class was coming up. It didn't take too long. By 73, it was very clear that Mujib was being surrounded and he was encouraging crony capitalists around him. But more than that, there were acts that are not known to the Indian public. He created a Vahini called Jatiya Raksha Vahini. You haven't heard of it. Jatiya Raksha Vahini has been compared by the BBC, has been compared by the New York Times to an organization of paramilitary forces no different from Hitler's brown shirts or the Gestapo. We don't know that Mujib was ruling through such tactics and that they were involved in extrajudicial killings, disappearances. About the economic side, again, I'll refer not to any Indian, to a New York Times report of 1975, the year he died. It's written as one man's basket case. It refers mainly to the economic mess that he had created through his over system of controls and uh, and encouragement of oligarchs and crony capital. This part is not known.
So
Amartya
Mujib
Sen,
was far from an effective, efficient ruler. Our impression that Mujib ruled Bangladesh beneficently is a mistaken one.
absolutely mistaken, because if you read the works of Kaushik Basu, if you read the works of Amartya Sen, if you read the works of people who had no option, people like us who had no option to know much more than the rest of India, because they are our neighbors, that's where many of us came from, where we have relations. Now, there are lots of books. Now, the one that needs to be pointed out is a flood that came in October 73, and the effects of the flood continued till about a year in up to 74. It devastated Bangladesh. It devastated Bangladesh not because of the ravages of nature, but because of utter mismanagement and economic speculation that drove it to the level of a famine.
So this
And
was the classic moment when Mujib mishandled the situation.
absolutely mishandled, not only mishandled, he was being extremely pompous in it. And this was the period, instead of consolidating the economic and administrative measures to control the famine and the prices, he was encouraging people who were going in the reverse direction.
And India's support of Mujib during this time
Hmm.
turned Bangladeshi opinion against India just as they were turning against Mujib themselves.
It started, the anti-India thing started around this Indira's period, and just like in the Mrs. Gandhi was under siege in 1975, if you remember, Mujib was also under siege. So there are these reports in Asian Survey and others. Do you know that the international estimate for the people who died in that famine, in the flood come famine of 74, 75, is 1.5 million. 1,
1.5 million.
1.5 billion is the credible estimate that's available in the public domain, and the government gives the death figure at 27,000. It's much like our COVID deaths. So this is the extent of horror. There's another news in this is
Let me stop you there. There's a third big mistake to say which happened. This time, it was India's relationship with Mujib's daughter Sheikh Hasina when she became prime minister between 2009 and 2024. You write, and I'm quoting you, the last three elections were rigged, but observers sent by India's election commission turned in glowing reports of free and fair polls each time. The point you're making is a very simple one. Under Modi, India deliberately overlooked Sheikh Hasina's excesses and her growing unpopularity.
not exactly under Modi. Let's be fair. It all started in 2009. I was in Delhi. I knew what was happening. Modi, this lady came to power. We were rather relieved that anti-India, anti-secular forces had been pushed back. 2009 elections, we don't have any complaint. 2014 elections happened when Modi had not yet been, let's say, on the saddle. 2014 elections. So the 2014 elections was what we could say the systemic support by the Indian, whatever state you want to call it. But 2014 was the first example of rigging. Thereafter, 2018 and 2024 were shameless open rigging that has been reported all over the international media. The major political parties boycotted the 2024 elections. 2024 elections, about 40% of the votes were cast, and that too under duress. The January 2024 elections was the last straw on the camel's back. We have to understand these circumstances even instead of glossing over how much love and friendship and sentiment we have. These
And
are
you're
the things.
suggesting that
Mm,
whilst these elections were grossly rigged,
mm.
India kept quiet, India continued to support Sheikh Hasina, and that again rankled with the Bangladeshi people.
Absolutely. I've been in and out of Bangladesh at that time, and every time I met the sensible academics the left, the central parties, and academics and the media persons, they were telling me openly stories and exaggerated stories because I asked them for proof, saying that even before the polls, some Indian official had to be approached to clear names. What on earth is going on? Everyone was talking about it. People in Delhi were smug about it. When I asked my friends there, they said, well, it is in the greater interest.
So
So
then
there
it is
was.
true. So then it is true that from 2015, 16, 17 onwards, the
Yeah,
Modi government deliberately overlooked Sheikh Hasina's excesses. It deliberately overlooked the fact that she was losing popularity. And that meant that the Bangladeshi people looked upon Modi as a supporter of someone they considered a tyrant in their country.
absolutely affidavit proof. Whatever you said can be recorded in an affidavit. This is actually the fact that we are kept away from. We are kept away from this thing. And during this period of bonhomie, we also have people gaining from such friendships, making economic gain from such friendships.
People gaining in Bangladesh or gaining in India.
In gaining in Bangladesh and in India, obviously,
Now,
and
you
in India.
also believe that Sheikh Hasina did herself no favors by her attitude to and her relationship with Narendra Modi. You write, and I'm quoting you, what hurt Bangladeshis even more was Sheikh Hasina's kowtowing to a person despised by Muslims. And to make your point, you cite the fact that she bent over backwards in 2015 to enable Gautam Adani, a very close supporter and ally of Narendra Modi, to export power to Bangladesh.
Absolutely. This is one of the most controversial parts of our relationship. You must realize that after 14 and 15, when Muhammad Akhlaq was lynched, and after that, we had this series that can go from 53 to 93, the way you count it, Muslims being lynched in public. Would you feel that there will be no reaction in Muslim countries? Bangladesh kept its reaction bottled because a secular, strong, secular uh, hegemonic regime was ruling Bangladesh. But the feeling of angst against the extreme right that was ruling India was very clear. It was very clear when you talked even to the best of your friends, saying that your Modi, your fellows are doing this. Okay,
And
despite that,
Bangladeshis resented Sheikh Hasina's dependence on Modi for support.
yes, and they resented and they felt that as a leader of an independent country, she should raise some of these issues because she was the only major Muslim leader to have a direct access to Modi.
And she
So
did
she
not
did
raise
not.
these issues at
She
all.
didn't raise. She didn't. I mean, we are not aware of whether she raised it because the anger against this Modi Hasina bonhomie kept cascading until it led to what you call the July Revolution.
As a
The
result
Adani.
of this, you conclude that when Sheikh Hasina fell from power, and I'm quoting you yet again, rage against her excesses spilled over as vitriol against India for propping her up. And all of that now, in the context of what you've explained, is understandable. But the important point is it's not anti Hindu, although it is against India. Why in recent weeks has anti-Hinduness come to the fore? Is it only because of the Yunus factor and the way Bangladeshi politics is playing out today?
It's mainly because of that. They have just a few days for the elections, and there's a huge chunk of Bangladeshis who actually still support the Awami League's policies. They have misgivings about how Hasina did it. They are democratic, they are secular, they believe in Bengali sentiments, they are not genetically anti India. So that accounts for a large section. Then there is another section that may be more Islamic, but feel that India's got nothing to do with my Islam. So this chunk will decide the polls of 12th February. Remember that.
Before we come
This.
to the polls, let's introduce one more factor into the discussion. Against the background of everything that you've explained so far, let's come to the recent cricket controversy and the BCCI's instructions to Kolkata Knight Riders to drop Mustafizur Rahman. You believe this was the wrong decision, and you believe it will further deteriorate India-Bangladesh relations, and it could even fuel anti-Indian, maybe now anti-Hindu sentiments.
Absolutely. The first sensible thing that India did, I mean, we've been talking about it, I've been holding national conferences in Delhi, writing. The first very commendable thing that India did was to send Jayashankar to the funeral of Begum Khalida. And he passed on a message to Tariq Rahman, the leader of the BNP, that we are with forces that are against extremism. So that sort of a message. Immediately after, and there was a lot of speculation about this, a lot of discussion about this handshake. Now, immediately after this, there's somebody who is very knuckle-headed, if I may use the term, who went and told the Calcutta Night Riders to drop Mustafizur. Mustafizur is an icon of Bangladesh. Is loved in many parts of India for his excellent bowling pacing. Now, why on earth will you pick on this young guy who's almost a legend and tell him that you get out, and within brackets you get out because you're a Bangladeshi? Why are you doing it? Is there a force in India that doesn't want good relations with Bangladesh, that wants a hostile neighbor like Pakistan? I sometimes feel that there are people in India who want hostility because hostility is the only way they can keep up their extreme politics.
And the
This is
decision
stupid.
to drop Mustafizur Rahman will
Hmm.
mean that ordinary Bangladeshis who look upon him as an icon and a hero will turn against India.
Have turned against, not will turn. Just open the papers after that. I do it on a daily basis. Open their news, and they, even the sensible ones who are, if I may use the term, pro India or warm about India, even they are saying, what a stupid thing to do. What a provocative thing to do. Now, watch your step. They have, as I said, just a few days to go. It is this big chunk of voters who were formerly with the Awami League that has been unfairly debarred from polling. This chunk will decide the future of Bangladesh. The last poll that was conducted showed that the BNP has a way ahead advantage. But people feel that Jamaat and the 11 Muslim parties, Bangladesh, Khilafat Islam, Hifazat Islam, this lot, and Mr. Professor Yunus's NCP that has just added itself as a tail to this alliance. This Islamic alliance is bound to sweep.
Let's
It's
at this
all.
point
Mm,
actually
mm,
talk
mm,
about the
mm,
impact on India-Bangladesh relations of the new government. In a month's
mm.
time, if the elections are held on time, Bangladesh will have a new government. Yunus will have passed into history. There will be a successive regime to replace him. A lot depends upon who gets elected to office. If Tariq Rahman and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party that he now heads after his mother has died wins, what sort of relationship can we expect? Earlier in the 90s and early 2000s, India had reservations about the BNP. But now, as you said, Jaishankar has consciously and deliberately reached out to Tariq Rahman. What sort of relationship can we expect if Tariq Rahman and the BNP come to power?
You see, the BNP was a creation that rose as a reaction to India's complete mollycoddling of Mujibur Rahman. And by 73, 74, 75, his corrupt lot, his corrupt autocratic lot. Okay. They came up as a reaction to that, and BNP was more central to Bangladeshi politics. It had a bit of Islam that cannot be denied. Bangladeshi identity is centered around Bengali Islam. Bengali Islam is a little different from, well, you know. So it centered around there. BNP was hostile, if I may use the term, to India because it had no reason to be in love with India, the way India treated their leaders. It supported anti Indian forces on its soil. It provoked India. That is history. That is Ziaur Rahman. When Begum Khaleda came, Begum Khaleda also used the Islamic forces to reach out to the masses. And Jamaat and others whom we are today taking as threats were their lackeys, were their supporters. So the BNP also has an Islamic past. But, in a political spectrum where the Awami League has been knocked off for the present, there's a big vacancy in what we call the left center bloc. There's a big vacancy. And BNP, that was in the right center, has been pushed to the left because these minor forces, these fringe elements called Jamaat, Majlis, Hifazat-e-Islam, they have expanded their space so much on the right. They say, we don't need you. You don't need us. We don't need you. We are now opposing each other. So they have formed an 11-party alliance with Yunus
So
also.
you're suggesting that
Hmm.
because the BNP has been pushed to the left, India can establish a credible relationship today
It,
with the BNP and Tariq Rahman.
it has no option. We don't choose our neighbors. We accept them for all they are. And BNP, I feel, would be carrying on a bit of anti-India sentiment because that is the prevalent sentiment at the moment. It should not appear to be a lackey of India. It can't be, it won't be, but it should not appear because that's a charge that they can always put
But
against it.
can we have a good relationship with Bangladesh if BNP rules the country?
Yes, good, practical, restrained, and on a transactional basis. We can have, and that's the only bet we have at the moment.
But
Only bet.
what about another possibility? What sort of situation would we face if the Jamaat and the National Citizen Party, you referred to it as Yunus's party, have an important role to play after the elections?
I think they will continue to play an important role. You have risen, the genie is out of the bottle. The genie that was put into the bottle for many, many years, 50 years since 1971, for their horrendous activities during the Jatiya struggle. The genie is out of the bottle and given vitamins. So they can't be pushed back into the bottle. It's something like India. Even if we manage to reclaim our secular republic, there will always be the shadow of those of extreme right, extreme
So,
Hindu.
what sort
That
of
will be there.
relationship would we have with Bangladesh if the Jamaat and the NCP play an important role after the elections?
The two parties are existing on an anti-India, anti-Hindu platform. So we can expect a hostile neighbor that would be encouraging Pakistan. That's got direct links from Pakistan. Remember, they slept with Pakistan. They were part of Pakistan for 25 years. There are people who were part of the Muslim League and the separate Qawm movement. So there is a strong group there, and now we have their expression coming out through the next generation of the Jamaat Islam and the other Islamic parties, and Yunus, a very frustrated, a very unbalanced person helping them.
So I
Yunus may
presume
be
that in
marginal.
these circumstances, a
Hmm.
lot depends on how Sheikh Hasina instructs her supporters to vote. Clearly, the Awami League is banned and her supporters can't vote for the Awami League. So who will she encourage them to vote for? Will she opt for the BNP? Or might she hesitate to do so because the BNP are her traditional rivals? And in which event will she keep silent and give no advice to her supporters? Or might she seek to even support the Jamaat out of animosity to the BNP? Which of the three options?
You see, the logical option for Hasina would be to ensure the continuance of more democratic forces,
Which means BNP?
which means BNP. It will be, she would have to go in sackcloth and ashes, if I may put it. She would have to go. She can show her statesmanship. She has done remarkable work also because my notes, which is for constraints of space, make it that she was only a villain. No, she has done remarkable work for Bangladesh also. Let her rise to the occasion. Let her rise to the occasion and decide to give a hint to her supporters to support the most democratic option left. Remember, the
And that
BNP,
is the BNP.
The BNP has, along with it, strong arm people. The BNP has with it corrupt people. It's all part of Bangladeshi politics. I'm not covering the making
But
the
are you
BNP.
saying when she should give her supporters an indication to vote for democratic forces,
If
are you saying the BNP? Please be clear.
if she can rise to the occasion, if she can see beyond her nose right now and indicate that we have no option but to be supporting the BNP, the BNP will sweep the elections.
So
The BNP will sweep them.
a lot depends on what Sheikh Hasina gives as advice to her supporters. Sheikh Hasina
Absolutely.
at the moment is critically dependent upon the goodwill of the Indian government. Will
It
she
is.
bear in mind that India Bangladesh relations could hinge critically on who comes to power in Bangladesh? BNP is the best bet for India Bangladesh relations, not the Jamaat, not the NCP. Will she bear that in mind?
You should. She should. I never believed 5 years ago that I would ever be speaking like this for the BNP, knowing its full history, knowing the history of Awami League. But today there are no options. In politics, you don't go by sentiment. You go
Okay.
by what is desired, what is possible, and what is desirable at the moment.
I thank you, Mr.
Mm.
Sarkar, for your insight into Bangladesh, your insight into the relationship between India and our neighbor to the east, and more importantly, your insight into the way Bangladeshis have looked upon Hindus in their own country, but also India, because these are aspects of the relationship that many people are not aware of. You've created a wholly different picture so that people can put the relationship in perspective. Thank you very much indeed. Take care. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.